Good afternoon. This is a video requested by a student in my intermediate Photoshop class. We were looking at selections. We were looking at making selections from color range in the class session for class 5. Right now, I'm going to be showing you guys how to replace color. Okay, it's sort of the same process of going to the selection drop-down, grabbing or opening color range, and then making a selection by color range. And you can see that I am making a selection with the eyedropper tool. If I use the plus eyedropper, that will add to the selection almost as though I were pressing shift. I've also pressed shift as well, and you can see that when I use the color range, I have just made a selection with the fuzziness way too high. I'm going to deselect. I'm going to go into Image, Adjustments, zoom all the way down to Replace Color, and you can see that it looks a little similar to that Select Color Range dialog box. It's got the eyedroppers, it's got fuzziness, it's also got the selection or image, okay? Kind of like the other dialog box, but at the bottom it says replacement. So this is cool. So I'm gonna click on Willow Smith's pants. I'm going to press shift and I'm going to add to that selection, and what I've got here is the result for the color that I have chosen. And if I change the hue now, you can see, because my preview is on, the colors are changing on her pants. Awesome. Awesome. So, hue, saturation, lightness or darkness. You can see it's happening to the whole image. That is probably because I've picked up a little bit extra internally in that image. Let's see. Lightness and darkness doesn't only affect the pants, it affects the whole image. We'll leave that alone for a minute. You can see the saturation is affecting the background image as well. Because the fuzziness is quite high, the blue color of the pants has also been picked up in or recognized by Photoshop in the background. So if I take that fuzziness down quite a bit, you can see that the selection is going to be primarily of those trousers. So we will see mainly the change in the pants. So you can see that the pants are changing color, but the background absolutely is not. So replace color. Replace color works really well if you need to adjust the fashion sensibilities of your subjects in your image, or if you need to change something about the cast color, the colors that are reflected in your images. If you're compositing two images together and you find that one of the pieces of the composite looks like it has a different color cast, maybe a bit of a green cast or a yellow cast instead of pure daylight. In this case, this was a really simple example, but used on photographs that you're compositing or photographs that you're trying to change the color cast of. Replace color is a really great solution. As you can see, the color, original color, what the color was that I made the selection on. The fuzziness is referring to the fall off beyond the selection boundary, so whether or not the area around that pixel that I've selected with the eyedropper tool, how much of the pixels adjacent have the color attached to them, etc. The hue down here is referring to what the hue change is going to be, the replacement, and if I press OK, that is now the image. The image has been updated. The image color has been updated, and you can see it is a destructive change. So the only place that you can find that adjustment, replace color, is in the image adjustment drop-down menu. That is a destructive way of working. If we go to the drop-down for the layers panel, for adjustment layer, solid, etc., you do not see that replace color down there. So the only way that you can do this, if you want to do it in a non-destructive way, is to reserve your layer. So you can go in and create a duplicate layer and then do the adjustment and then go forward from there. In this case, I did it on my background layer, which means that if I wanted to go back, the only recourse I have is to go back in time through the history panel. Or another cool tool that I may have shown you before, the history brush. So as long as I haven't moved the background layer at all, if I use the history brush, it's going to paint back in the history of that image. And you can see I'm using the history brush. The color green, you can see this, I'll make the brush a little bit bigger. The green cast is back there in the history of this image in the background. You can't really see it. I'll go back in time a couple steps. So that green is showing up in the background. I wonder if you can see that somewhere. No, not really. Oh, there it is. Okay, you can kind of see it. I've painted the history back in. In any case, that is replace color and the destructive qualities of using that adjustment and the history brush that will take you back in time to before you made all of the edits to your image. And that's it for today.